What it is up in this piece, it's your boy with video number 2 of the day. This is a video that needs to be done before the ball gets rolling and this thing gets momentum and gets out of control. So, a lot of people have been yapping on about Bron Breakker's promo on Monday Night Raw. And the hater is here to tell you the truth, to always say it like it is, you know? You can always count on the hater to tell you his feelings. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm going to tell you how I feel about something and what I think about something. And that's how you know your boy authentic, you know? But the point is this. Bron Breakker is someone that I have been saying for a long time is a big deal. You know what I mean? So it might seem to some that I'm just kind of like changing lanes here. But that's not it at all. I still want him to succeed, and I still think he's got some good qualities. But the facts are the facts, and the truth is the truth, cuts this. The facts are that Bron Breakker cut a promo. Now, a lot of people are deciding to call the fact that he mumbled his words multiple times charming. They're like, oh, it reminds us of Scott Steiner. Now, Scott Steiner became a meme during his time in WCW and TNA because he cut like some, I don't want to say weird promos, but promos where he botches everything he says. He's not a good speaker. He's entertaining. I love Scott Steiner, but he's not a good promo, And Bron Breakker did the same thing. Not on purpose, but because he doesn't have the confidence yet to cut a promo live on TV. Now, to be fair, the haters out here in this little arcade room that I built for myself in the basement, I'm by myself, and I can speak with confidence. So I'm not going to pretend that I understand what it's like to try to cut a promo in front of 30,000 people, or more like 4,000, you know what I mean? So basically the audience that I have. But the point is, the idea is exactly that, right? It's difficult, and you have to get comfortable talking in front of a lot of people, right? You have to really be locked in and kind of ignore the fact that there's people there. I don't think it's that difficult, but Bron Breakker isn't there yet. That's just the facts, right? The thing that bothers me, a little bit, not too much, but it bothers me, is that because he screwed up his words, and this reminded everyone of his uncle, who also wasn't good at promos, they're like, well, just like his uncle, and people are like, yeah, like this is a great promo. And it's like, you have nostalgia for Scott Steiner promos, and therefore, you're trying to like kind of have this idea that if someone imitates something that was bad in the past, the charm from the imitation, even if it's by accident, is greater, and so great, in fact, that it's supposed to overwhelm the idea that fundamentally, you know what I'm saying, we did not see a good promo on Monday. Now, another thing that I think merits mentioning is the fact that at his promo, right, first of all, you could tell he was nervous, but near the end, he basically came up with the line, or probably rehearsed it, about how CM Punk, I think it was CM Punk, told him, hey kid, maybe one day you'll cut a promo like, like the great ones, right? Kind of sarcastically to imply that like he has a lot of qualities, but he'll never be able to cut a good promo. And Bron Breakker referenced this and then said, well, la-di-da. Now, I'm not concerned about the la-di-da because some people might think that's cringe. I think it's whatever, right? I'm concerned with the fact that at some point in his promo, Bron Breakker had to tell us that he just cut a good promo, which obviously, I think most of you see where I'm going with this. If you have to tell someone that they cut a good promo or that you cut a good promo, then you probably didn't cut a good promo. Very recently, the hater met a new friend, right? And this new friend, he's one of those guys, like we all know them. The people that think they're funny but aren't, and then they hold us hostage with their shitty jokes. You know what I'm talking about? Someone says a joke, you don't think it's funny at all, right? And then you're forced to laugh for social conventions so they don't feel like assholes for saying the shitty joke. Well, the hater's never been that guy. The hater just doesn't laugh. So this guy makes a joke, I don't laugh at all. He looks at me dead in the eyes, trying to elicit a laughter from me. I don't laugh, right? Then he says, yeah, I'm a funny guy. He says that, right? And that's when we both knew, him and I and the people that were with, that this guy's not funny. You know what I mean? You are not what you claim to be if you have to convince people that you are that thing. You ever hear Chris Rock tell people, I'm funny? No, it's always the unfunny people that say that, right? It's always the people with a chip on their shoulders. I'll give you an even more relatable example. Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle's obviously a funny guy, no doubt. But he's not a legend. He's not one of the greats, right? People think he is, but he isn't. He's not on the level of like George Carlin or Chris Rock, or in my opinion, even like Jim Norton, you know? Dave is just a guy who did like quasi-edgy humor, right? After a show that was much edgier than his, you know? And he's written that to the fucking sunset till the cows come home. And in his recent specials, which, though funny, they've kind of like deteriorated, he says things like, oh, my last special, it was a masterpiece. And like, he says it under the guise of a joke, but he really believes that. And quite frankly, it's like, he's not even like a top 10, you know? Which, again, he's still a funny guy. He deserves the money he's made. Well, not all of it. He should have made less money, but, you know, who am I to say, right? The point is, someone like Chris Rock or George Carlin are never gonna like go out and be like, I'm a funny guy. My last special was a masterclass. Like, no one that's actually funny is gonna say that, right? The people that are at that level develop a natural humility, right? That prevents them from saying that. It just doesn't feel right. Like, it wouldn't feel right for Chris Rock to say something like that, right? Because it's like, why are you telling this? Like, we already know. Like, we all know they're funny, you know? So it's the same thing with Bron Breakker, right? He says things that he has to convince us of, but he can't. So he has to tell us that that's what happened, right? It's no different than Michael Cole lying and telling you this is a great moment. Oh, what a dream match, right? It's the same philosophy as dream matches. If you have to explain that it's a dream match, chances are it's not a dream match, right? Jericho versus Shawn Michaels, a lot of people thought that was a dream match, but you never heard JR say, oh, we got a dream match for you. No, he just called it a slobber knocker like he called every other match, right? Because it speaks for itself, right? Same thing. Remember back in the day when the concept of the WrestleMania moment wasn't a thing, right? Like nobody said, wow, what a WrestleMania moment this is, right? We just had WrestleMania moments, and the fans organically knew that they had just experienced a WrestleMania moment. Think about all the great promos, all the great all-time promos, right? Never has someone said in the middle of the promo, this is a great promo. But Bron Breakker has to say it, because if he doesn't, then nobody's going to know that it's a great promo. Now, the problem with the wrestling fans, and a lot of fandoms, but really the wrestling fans, is groupthink, right? Wrestling fans are conditioned to all have the same opinion. And as a result of them having the same ass opinion, we find ourselves in a situation where 5 people say, this was a great promo, and then everyone else just kind of falls in line. You go on the YouTube video of the promo, right? Doesn't even have 1 million views. And this is WB. They're like a top 10 channel on YouTube, right? Can't even draw 1 million views with this promo. Now, he comes out there, and now it probably has more than 1 million, because I know some nerds are going to go check it out now. Be like, oh, Hater, you were wrong. It has 1.3 million or whatever. Yeah? The point is, right? This guy, Bron Breakker, right? He cut a promo that, in my opinion, is a good promo for him, right? For a lackey, he got a pretty good lackey promo. But people, you would see the comments in this video. The people are saying things like, he just cut a Hall of Fame promo. No, he didn't. No, literally every Bubba Ray Dudley promo, literally every single one of them, is better than this promo. Like 100% of Bubba Ray Dudley and Christian's promos are better than this promo, right? This was like a mid-level Matt Hardy promo. You know what I mean? That's what this was. That's how I would characterize it, right? Like, if you look at every promo that The Rock has ever cut, literally 100% of them are better than this one, right? And again, I'm not comparing him just to The Rock. That's why I brought up Christian and Bubba Ray, 2 guys that are excellent on the mic, in my opinion, and very underrated, and, you know, who probably are going to have much less success in their careers than, obviously, Bron Breakker at this rate, right? So, yes, obviously, like, it was a good promo, but it was not a great promo. It was mid. Now, a third factor that I wanted to talk about with respect to the analysis of this promo, and more importantly, to the analysis of this promo, the reactions that everyone's having, right? The third aspect, I think, is equally important and probably the main reason why this promo is being overhyped, right? It's called comparative analysis, right? When you are surrounded by shit and you step on, like, I don't know, like a pool of diarrhea, you're like, oh, at least it's not hard to step on, right? Because all you're used to is shit, right? It's as simple as that. You see people who have been used to nothing getting something mid, and then they're like, wow, that was amazing, right? Like, you see, for example, they have these videos where, like, some YouTuber or some jobber will go to, like, some school in Africa or, like, Nicaragua, some random-ass village in Guatemala or some shit, right, where they don't have anything, and he'll give them, like, notebooks And the kids are like all excited. I know they put it on too, but like they're excited because they've never seen a fucking notebook. You know? They're like, oh, all we have is like fucking tree bark or whatever the fuck they use, you know? Because there's like levels of impoverishment that most of us will never understand. Not most of us, but most of us here, I should say, will never understand, right? Then you give the same notebook to like some rich kid from Bel Air. He's gonna be like, man, it's not even like a 5-star notebook or whatever the fuck it's called, right? So it's like that, right? People have gotten used to too many things that are mediocre, right? The entire American culture has fallen into like a complete lapse of mediocrity, right? I did my Spotify, like, you know, like the end of the year wrap up, and like the top 5 artists, none of them were American. I was shocked, right? I think Hollywood Undead, because the hater loves Hollywood Undead. That's the only exception, right? Everything else was like some European shit, you know? Or like some Latin American shit, because the hater has a very, very eclectic music taste. Spotify says I listen to like 312 genres of music. I don't even know what the fuck that means. But the point is, right? Like the culture all around us is getting shitty. So when you see something that has any kind of spark, people get excited, right? People get excited for it because they think that they're witnessing something great. Everyone wants to be part of that zeitgeist, of that time, right? You all want to think, and so do I, to be honest, that any given moment is the moment where things change, right? People in the comments are like, Bron Breakker just changed the trajectory of his career. No, he didn't. He absolutely didn't. It was a mid-promo, right? Like, it's kind of like, I was watching one time, we were watching like, whatever, Crown Jewel or some shit, like one of the old ones, right? And in Saudi, they were like, this is like the new class of Saudi WWE wrestlers. One of them was Mansoor, and he definitely stood out from the rest of them, right? They all cut a promo, they were all insecure. Mansoor cut a promo, and he was not as insecure. He was like, oh, Saudi Arabia, like, welcome everyone. And like, the people I was watching with were like, wow. They're like, I see something there. And I'm like, have you lost your mind? Yeah, he was better than the 6 other Saudis that they had. They gave him a tryout because like, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is like, hey, do you think we can get some Saudis in here? You know, so we can push, so we can actually get some value for the money we're paying you? And they're like, sure, bring like 6 Saudi jabrones. One of them was Mansoor, and Mansoor got like a 4 or 5 year career out of just being Saudi. Like he accomplished nothing in his life. He's just Saudi. And they're like, we need a Saudi, put him in here, right? But it could have been one of the other Saudis, so I guess he did accomplish something, right? But the way that my friends, people I was watching with, they were talking about it, you'd think like that they just saw like The Undertaker, Triple H, Kane, Jericho, Angle, and then Mansoor was The Rock on the mic, right? They were acting like this is the future of wrestling, and Mansoor is gonna lead it. I'm like, this guy has Mustafa Ali. This is literally the words I said. I'm like, this guy has Mustafa Ali written all over him, right? He's literally Mustafa Ali. He has the same insecurity, the same shitty promo delivery, and the same moveset, and the same fucking haircut. You take a random person and you show them both these guys, they'll be like, why do they hire both? One of them could have just done the job of both of these motherfucks. So the point is, people, and there's a lot of mediocrity, they pretend that mediocre things, or sometimes even lower than mediocre things, are excellent, right? In my personal opinion, the same thing is happening with respect to Jacob Fatu. He's just a regular guy who does a moonsault, and people are acting like this guy's fucking like Kurt Angle in the ring, you know? But you see this all the time. You know, we saw it with Kevin Owens too. Just a fat guy who does like a simple package pile driver, and he can do a swanton. Like everyone can do a swanton. Yeah, like literally everyone, like above the age of 18, can do a front flip to fall on their back, right? Like he does it, but it looks like shit. When Jeff Hardy does it, it looks amazing. So people are like, oh, Kevin Owens, this guy's gonna like lead the revolution. It's like, what are you talking about, man? This guy is the same thing as Samoa Joe. Just 2 fat guys who can barely perform the fake sport. The people were acting like it's like Shawn Michaels in the ring. You know, this happens a lot. It's happening as we speak. Well, it happened before with Gunther, right? I'm like, this is fucking Kozlov all over again. I'm like, I don't understand how I'm the only one that sees this. It's just Kozlov with less moves. Like, it's just Kozlov. It's basically a fatter, less muscular, shorter Kozlov with fewer moves. It's the same exact thing. And the people that were saying that Kozlov sucks ass are pretending that Gunther, like, I've never seen anything like Gunther. Like, you all know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Remember when people were comparing Finn Balor to The Undertaker? Now Finn Balor's a guy that wears sneakers, has a fucking simple jack haircut, and hasn't won a singles match in about 13 years. You know? The hater is not surprised at all. I'm like, my friends were like, Finn Balor's gonna be amazing. I'm like, this guy has Apollo Crews written all over him. Nobody believed me. You know? And they he debuts in the main roster. They give him the world title his first day, and then after that, He gets injured, relinquishes it, comes back, and has an Apollo Crews career. Yeah, he won the IC title a few times, but so did Apollo Crews, right? So that's what it comes down to. You know what I mean? And now it's happening all over again. People are pretending that Trick Williams is like this charismatic guy that we've never seen before. People are pretending that Obafemi is like anything more than Bull Dempsey 2.0. Like, neither Obafemi nor Trick Williams are going to have a better career than Baron Corbin. Because they're not better than Baron Corbin. It's simple as that. But nobody wants to accept these realities, right? Because we're surrounded by so much mediocrity. I mean, I don't blame you. You know, I don't blame anybody. When you see like Trick Williams and Joe Hendry, you think, wow, these guys are stars. When you hear like a Bron Breakker promo, you're like, this is an amazing promo. But then you look around him. Bron Breakker is surrounded with like Bronson Reed. Trick and fucking Joe Hendry are surrounded by Dion Lennox. Dion Lennox, who has fucking Angelo Dawkins written all over him. This guy's never gonna make it in anything. You know what I mean? You have all this mediocrity, right? People are like, wow, I can't believe that like these guys are such great stars. Like, the world has gotten so shitty, right? America specifically has gotten so shitty, right? That you see someone like Ricky Saints, and instead of everyone unanimously agreeing that this guy at maximum is on the level of Crash Holly, people act like this guy is the next Shawn Michaels. It's unbelievable. Like that's the one that boggles my mind the most. They're like, he has like a pretty boy gimmick, and he's like one of the ugliest wrestlers of all time. Have you seen this guy? It's unbelievable, man. You know? It's unbelievable that people are even like going along with this shit. Now, it is what it is. That's just a personal opinion. I don't think he should be playing a pretty boy gimmick. Maybe he is a good-looking guy. I don't mean to be disrespectful to him because, quite frankly, he's done nothing to me. But the point is, right, the point still stands. I don't give a fuck. We talk about these things since we tell the truth around here on the Hater channel, motherfucks. The point is, this mediocrity, right, is surrounded by shit. So, by comparison, it looks amazing, right? This happens all the time, right? Yesterday, the haters are betting man sometimes. So I'm like, let's look at the NBA MVP odds. I turn that shit on. It's a neck and neck, right? It's either Jokic or Shea, right? Then third is Luka Doncic. And I'm like, what the fuck? None of these guys is an American. Like, the next MVP there's like basically a zero chance that it's gonna be an American, right? Then you look at the last 7 or 8 MVPs, it's all Europeans and shit. I mean, you got maybe an African here and there. It's like Jokic like 1,000 times. Then you got like the Embiid guy. You got all these nobodies, right? Being MVP, not even one American. It's like, why are the Americans even playing the sport anymore? Like, it's fucking over, man. Like, basically, like, the history of basketball is this. Americans dominated until the rest of the world was like, all right, we'll give it a try. And now it's like you have these Europeans coming in, like, just destroying everybody. Like, nobody can guard Jokic. He does whatever the fuck he wants. You know, they get these people on him. He's like, I'm just going to do whatever I want. I'm going to just body everybody. You know what I mean? Nobody can guard this motherfucker. You know? And then Shea, he's a Canadian. You know? Like, all these foreigners, which, by the way, I'm a foreigner myself. I love the foreigners. But come on, America, we got to step it up. When was the last time a cool American was mainstream? Like, Sydney Sweeney, I guess. But beyond her, like, who's presented as cool? Everyone's a fucking dork. Even someone like Michael B. Jordan, who they're trying hard to make into a big thing, he's a dork. He's like a drama kid. And he's a drama kid that looks good and went to the gym, but he's still a drama kid. He doesn't have the raw charisma of like a fucking Denzel Washington or like a Tom Cruise or something like that. He'll never be like a Tom Cruise. He'll never be a Denzel. You know what I mean? He'll be what he is, which is very successful. But you understand what I'm getting at, right? Like now it's like, oh, Timothy Chalamet. Like, people are talking about this fucking nerd, you know? And he's like some sort of Brit or something. You know what I mean? A Canadian or some shit. I don't even know what he is. Point is, you got all these like Superman motherfucks. Superman, the American hero, is played by like a British guy because we don't have men like that anymore, right? We don't have big, strong guys. You know what I mean? Like, all we have is dorks. And it's no different in wrestling, right? Like, we don't have Brock Lesnar, so we pretend that Bron Breakker is Brock Lesnar. Never mind the fact that he's like 5'10" and can barely cut a promo. But we're like, oh, this guy, he's gonna be the future. Like, people unironically say things like Dominic Mysterio is gonna main event WrestleMania. Like, that's just absurd. That's just ridiculous. Like, if the standard has to fall so low that Dominic is a WrestleMania-worthy main eventer, fuck out of here, man. You know? The hater always says it like it is, motherfuckers. And I think everyone deep down in your hearts, you know that I'm right. Like, just like always. Like, every time I say things, like, people, you can gaslight yourself. You can look at Karrion Kross and say, wow, this guy's great. But deep inside, you know that he's not. Deep inside, everyone knew that we were just talking shit. Everyone, including Karrion Kross, everyone knew that this was not going to happen, right? Here's how you know. there's far better wrestlers than Karrion Kross who, let's be real, you know what I'm saying, have had worse careers. There's people that have never gotten a shot, right? Like Matt Morgan is better than Karrion Kross, and he's had a worse WWE career. Now, I'm not saying Matt Morgan's great, but you understand what I'm getting at. You know, the amount of mediocrity, right? And obviously the mediocrity up in this bitch of Bron Breakker's promo. I think there's so many points of evidence that I think basically prove that this wasn't a great promo. But people are gonna like pretend that it was. This is the gaslight era, motherfuckers. It doesn't matter what you see, right? Who gives a fuck what you see, what you think you understood, right? You're gonna go online, not you guys, because you guys are the smart ones, right? But the dumbasses are gonna go online. They're gonna just go download their opinion on Reddit. And they're gonna be like, this is my opinion. It was great. How do you think people started talking about Konosuke Takeshita, who is one of the better Japanese wrestlers, but he's nothing special. I don't think I've heard this guy say a word once. You know? This guy's never gonna sell tickets. This guy's never gonna main event anything important. You know, this guy's on a draw. So what I'm getting at here, cuts this, is exactly that, right? You surround everything with mediocrity, and mediocrity becomes the norm. This ain't just the hater saying it. This ain't even Sports Illustrated saying it. Jericho said this in 1999 to The Rock. He was obviously wrong because The Rock's amazing, but come on, you know? Let's get shit on board. Let's get things done. Cuts this, and with that being said, take care and have a nice Thursday. Cucks.